Rex with a bomb pot hand, right?
Yep.
All right. So I wanted to take a look here at bomb pots a little bit because bomb pots are something that are played quite often, especially in the Texas area. And just wanted to discuss a little bit about, the strategy of where I think people go obviously a little bit wrong. This was started in, I think it was in the Sacramento area, and it actually came out of a home game, and then it migrated to sort of the Bay Area casinos, and then it kind of caught on all around the country. But it first was started as a way to pay collection. But a bomb pot, of course, is basically everybody antes, right? And then you see a flop. So you have however many people at the table, like 8 or 9 people with entirely uncapped ranges because everybody sees the flop. Am I right, Rex? Where's this played out of?
Yeah, this is you described it perfect. This is a $25 bomb pot. We're playing seven-handed.
Okay.
3-5 game at Fortune Poker in Washington, Seattle area.
$25 bomb pot is Fortune Poker in Seattle. I don't even. Is that like new? Do they have they had? I
No.
guess no. I guess Washington's had these card rooms, right? Because they've got that cap bet or something, right?
Yeah, so if it's not a tribal property, it's a $300 max bet.
Okay.
And if you want to raise, you can match you can call the bet plus 300 max.
So, and this is a 3-5 game?
Yep.
Okay. So $25 bomb pot. And how deep are the stacks around?
So the effective stack is me in this hand, and I have 500. The one villain has 900, and the other villain has us both covered.
Okay.
And as I said in the email, I should have topped off before this hand. Kind of distracted myself, and then next thing you know, we're in a bomb pot, and I hadn't topped off. So you can buy in for up to 1,000.
So one of the things that I'm going to say as people talking in the live chat. So one of the things too that Texas, specifically Austin, that what they do with bomb pots is they do double board bomb pots. So everyone's like first started with a bomb pot, like very simple, right? Everybody gets 2 cards, and now they have a lot of double board bomb pots, which I'm a huge fan of. I haven't really got a chance to play in them because I have a lot of experience in split pot games. A double board bomb pot is basically, the one board, you get 2 boards and the pot's chopped between the 2 highest hands, and split pot concepts come into play because if you have absolutely nothing on one board, even if you flop like middle set on the other board, you could be getting free rolled. There's also a lot of advanced sort of concepts in split pot games with position because just because you have nothing on one board in a double board bomb pot doesn't mean that you can't win if you can get somebody to fold. With that being said, whatever form of bomb pot you're playing, position is absolutely paramount. In Hold'em too, this is a straight Hold'em bomb pot. I think the absolute dumbest bomb pot game is straight PLO high, because if you can imagine straight PLO high in a single board bomb pot, not in a double board, but in a single board bomb pot, PLO high, everyone can have anything at any time. Right? You get 4 cards. It's so stupid. You deal out 36 cards. Like, you can't really put a ton of money in without the nuts. Right? And the absolute best game to play bomb pots in is actually PLO high-low. Because people are forced to play hands that they would never play pre-flop. And they can get very, very lost. But this is a regular Hold'em hand, right?
Yeah, this is a single board,
Uh-huh.
regular, no limit Hold'em hand.
Okay. Yep.
So obviously, 7-handed $25 bomb pot. So
Yep.
there's 175 into the pot, straight to the flop.
Yep.
I'm in the small blind with 2 of spades, 5 of clubs. And the flop comes out 5 of spades, 2 of diamonds, ace of diamonds.
5 of spades, 2 of diamonds, ace of diamonds.
Yep.
So you flop bottom 2.
Yes.
So here's the thing. So another thing too that I would say, shout out to Will the Knit on in the YouTube chat. Usually play double board PLO at TCH these days. Yep, double board PLO. Here's the thing in bomb pots from up front. I think it's probably a pretty good strategy to check 100 from up front. to not have a leading range. Because here's the thing, like, if you want to understand how important position is in uncapped ranges and bomb pots, and I've made this contention before, if you lead out, now it's interesting with your specific hand because your hand needs a lot of protection because you've got bottom two. But if you lead out of the small blind, you were saying this was 7-handed. Is that right?
Yes.
So if you lead out of the small blind like in a 9-handed game, so let's say you're in the small blind and I'm in the big blind, right? And let's say I have ace king or ace queen or something like that. This is a fun one to look at, like Flopzilla, or even, yeah, I think Flopzilla is good for this exercise. I will make the contention that if you bet out of the small blind for, say, like at least half the size of the pot in a 9-handed game, if I'm in the big blind next to act, I probably should fold ace queen. Maybe it's debatable if I should fold ace king, especially on a very, very draw heavy board. Because if you just run the numbers with sort of random types of just entirely uncapped ranges, and you could just do that. You could just plug it in with 100% range from each position in a given scenario. It's even more extreme on paired boards. Like if the board came out, say like, 4-4 king, and you bet out of the small blind and I have like king queen, that's really hard for me to continue on, especially with like a 2 flush. For the reason that I'm saying that, if you do bet out of the small blind, your hand should be so strong that if people were actually playing correctly, you'd actually get folds from hands that you want to call. My point would being with bottom two, it might even be an overplay to just lead out. Now, of course, that's assuming that the players are playing like I'm thinking about the game, right? Which they very well might not be. But I don't think it's a bad strategy because you're so strong when you lead out to check from the small blind, because then you might get an ace to bet. Whereas if you bet and the guy's nitty or he knows what's going on, he might just fold an ace,
Right.
So what did you do?
Well, so I checked. It checked all the way through to the button.
Okay.
And I should say the two villains in this hand are under the gun and the button.
Okay.
So it checks to the button, who bets 100. And real quick, I guess I'll say under the gun, I've kind of known him to be a station, calls down light, that sort of thing. I had not played much with the button, and especially in a bomb pot situation, I didn't really want to take any sort of preconceived notions on the few hands I've played with him sort of into that, because, it's sort of especially like on the flop, it's like, I don't know. I wasn't super comfortable with going with.
Here's the weird thing about this, though, Rex. Here's the weird thing about this, and I didn't even realize this when you had emailed me in. You're in a very weird spot here because of your stack depth, and a lot of times people will actually lose track of pot size in bomb pots too. So look at your hand, right? You've got 500. So let's say you've got 475 left, right? The pot's already 175. So when he bets 100, if you call, it's 375, and you only have 375 left. You only have a pot size bet left. So because it's the button that bets here and no one else, I would probably go with this. I would check jam all in for a pot size bet. Whereas if like under the gun had bet, or if the big blind had bet and then you get a call, you have to be much more concerned. But the thing I see about bomb pots is people like to play sort of protection types of scenarios. So it would be shocking to me that given the flop action of everyone checking to the button, it would be shocking to me that you don't have the best hand versus everyone that's already checked. Again, like a little hand reading. It would be very surprising. I don't think people are checking two pair, not many straights. So yeah, the button might once in a while beat you just randomly. Whatever, with a higher two pair, aces up, or has 3-4, some bullshit like that. But because everyone else is checked to the button, I'm just going to jam it in here. There's really not much you can do because of the pot size. It's like you call, there aren't a whole lot of safe turn cards for you. I don't know if you're going to play a stop and go, but then people are going to have better pot odds behind you. So I think the point being here is because you're so shallow and your raise would be all in, I would just jam here. But if you're deeper, you probably need to continue with just a call.
Right. And so, yeah, so that was the big, I think ultimately the tough decision I have in a minute is based on obviously the fact that I called here,
Yeah.
and
But you
put
see what I'm
myself
saying,
in
right?
that.
Because you only have a pot size bet left, right?
Right. So I called the 100, and then the under the gun raises to 3. And then the button called.
So you call, under the gun raises to 300, button calls. Yeah, I think you have to fold. Get out now. Save your money. I just, with bottom two, which is vulnerable to a board pair anyways, there would have to be some crazy shit going on here if you're going to even have the best hand now. And your equity, like, maybe like 20% of the time you have the best hand now, but your hand equity isn't going to be that big, isn't going to be that great in that given scenario. It's like one of these situations where you're up against a big draw or you're crushed and you're up and you're going to see that against two people. Usually when those situations are there, then you just fold, especially multi-way. I just, you make this call, the pot's 375, this guy goes to 300, this guy goes to 300, 675, the guy calls 200 more, so it's 875, and then you've got another, say, 300
I have
left. It looks like you're getting
375.
it looks like you're getting like 3-1, but I just don't think you're at 25% against two people, on this board.
Right.
So I would
Yeah.
dump it now for sure.
Yeah. So I didn't do that.
So you back jammed?
What?
You back jammed? Back jam's all in? Back jam, you know what a back jam is?
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I'm thinking, okay, calling seems to be the worst decision. Folding. I mean, as I said in the email, every decision just kind of seemed bad because the pot odds were so juicy, and so I ended up jamming, and they obviously both called, and then so.
And what were the
Didn't feel
hands?
good about that.
What were the hands?
What was that?
What were the hands?
So the under the gun mucked. They bet the turn too because they were deeper.
Okay.
The button had 3-4.
The button had 3-4.
So I just that's the original decision to call the 100 seems to be a probably pretty tragic mistake there.
Well, no, I mean the tragic mistake is the back jam all in. Okay, so I think the call of the 100 is a small mistake because you probably lost track of how big the pot is. Like, if you didn't have a weird scenario where the pot was already big, like you were just sort of kind of trying to play solidly and you were deeper, the play would be to call. But it's very easy to lose track of pot size in these bomb pots, right? So that's a small mistake. I don't think it's tragic, but once it goes check raise from under the gun and then call, you just have to be done. So just out of curiosity, the under the gun guy check raised, the button called, you went all in, which didn't open the betting back up, right? They both called.
No, they flatted because there's only
right.
There's So they yeah.
So let me follow along here. So you move all in, they both call. So the pot's like, I don't know what, like over 1,000 on the turn, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
And then the under the gun check folds to a $300 bet on the turn.
No. It got to river. There was they bet. Basically, the under the gun put the button all in, and he obviously snapped.
Oh, I see. Like on a later street or something like that. He basically bet all. I mean, I got it. Okay.
Because remember the bet limit is 300. He only had about 400 more than me.
Got it. I got it. I understand.
So by the river, it was like a $75 bet into like $1,400 or something.
No, I absolutely, I get it. No, I get it. But I did thank you for bringing that up because I do sometimes want to talk about bomb pots. And again, it's not super. And by the way, you fucking nits. I'm not talking to anybody in particular. Actually, William, you know who I'm talking about. Not you, William, but a guy that used to play on the TCH 5-5 game. Guys that sit out bomb pots, really? I mean, how bad for the game can you possibly be? There's bomb pots going on. You're going to sit out a bomb pot. You're going to sit out your straddle. But anyways, yeah, hold'em bomb pots, position is just super, super duper critical. Just fool around with like, oh, if I flop bottom two on a board like this, I mean, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I bet you randomly, Rex, you having five deuce here against eight other 100% range hands on ace deuce five, two diamonds. I bet your equity's not as high as people think that it is. Obviously you get, I mean, it's a little bit of a skewed sort of way to look at it because they don't get to realize their equity. If you're up against the entire table with bottom two, the equities are going to be affected by the other hands, and some people are just going to fold out, right? But still,
well, we were also seven-handed, by the way, not nine.
Okay, so still,
but same logic,
same thing. No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call.
Thanks a lot, Bart.
If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call-in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.